Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Flower Circus Talks. Today, a very special guest who helped me out last minute, Sahid Nahim. He couldn't prepare too much, but I think he has a great story. Don't think we will notice anything about it. It's even his day off, so a really big thanks to him for joining us today in his car on his way to the beach. Let's quickly invite him into the live stream. So he's welcome.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that intro. I am looking forward to the beach, but I'm also looking forward to this interview. So thanks for having me on. And my hat goes off to you as well, because I know how much hard work this is. And you started a while ago, and I imagine how much hard work. So my hat goes off to you. Great
yeah,
job, man.
thank you very much, and thank you as well for telling us about what's going on in the United States in the market, and sharing your passion. I mean, I see you live on Instagram a lot of times, sharing your passion with the people in the US market or in the floral industry. So that's great.
I'll
So
do my best.
yeah, for the people who don't know you, can you tell a little bit more about yourself and about your company?
So, Sahid Nahim, my company is New Bloom Solutions. We're a digital marketing website design company. I like to think innovation in the sense that we're networking within the innovation scope of the floral industry, and we're consulting as well. So, business consulting as well for the floral industry. And our passion is connecting our industry to innovations, people, technology, and education. So that's really what we do. I have 16 years of experience working for distributors, but I learned a lot from my customers
Yeah.
because I'm very intriguing. If you've seen my shows, I'm always asking questions off of topics, and because I like to learn from the person I'm catering to. So learned a lot from there, learned many different perspectives, and I bring that to what I offer.
Yeah, and what I see also get other industries involved and learn from other industries, and
Yes.
that's what I think is really great.
That's very important to me. There's different industries. We only think of flowers as just the scope of flowers, but in reality, there's event planners, even wedding dress designers. It all meshes and it interconnects. So it's really good to learn of the different trends that each small little micro sector is doing in our event industry,
Yeah,
because we fall within that, I
yeah.
believe.
Is that something you think we can improve as a floral industry? We're not really into trends, or the trends are there in the floral industry, but they're quite slow. Whereas in fashion industry, every season there's something new.
And that's yes, we can. And companies like Dior and Chanel actually have even a fashion culture themselves. Many companies are actually taking on a fashion look and feel to their websites, for example, because we have to take into consideration, even if you're a B2B or if you're a B2C, it's a little corny, but P2P, which is people to people. You're still
Yeah,
catering to a person. You're not catering to a machine. So if you do have that look and feel of your website and kind of look at other industries to understand what they're doing, how they're optimized on their website, they've done the work for us. Just look into other industries, and we could learn a lot. Even in technology, there's many different technologies that we could bring over. Marketing, a sales funnel, for example, that's something that many different industries do, and the
yeah,
floral industry is just starting to get into that. So yeah, it's always look around you. I always say look at different industries and different countries,
yeah.
because a lot could be learned from trendsetters. Australia is a great place to look at. London, Europe's a great place to look at for us as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the other way around, I think we can learn a lot from the United States as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we just have to look more at each other and help each other out as well. Well,
Yeah,
Willie Armelini from Flowers and Scents is saying hello as well. Hello, Willie. Thank you for joining.
really. That's
uh,
it. He's
yeah,
a pioneer in our industry, by the way. I have a lot of respect for that guy. He started his blog 15 years ago.
yeah,
So I'm a big fan of everybody that kind of started things before they were cool.
yeah. I
So
mean, before people even knew there was internet, I think.
yeah, yeah, he'll tell you some great stories about that. But he just kind of went on it on the whim, and it took off. And he's a voice for our industry.
Yeah. Willie's also asking if it's car karaoke. We will only do that, Willie, when you join with your guitar.
I'll let you do the singing, Willie. I'll clap along for you, if
Yeah.
anything. That's great.
So,
That's
Sahid, can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening at the moment in the floral industry in the US?
So I'll tell you my perspective. I do speak to a few connections that I have in the industry. One thing I have been doing is a show for a customer of mine. We've been collaborating, and I'll tell you about that perspective with the florist. In the
Yeah,
beginning, there was what I call a COVID pivot, and they were actually started to do workshops. So that's an interesting perspective to me because they were teaching their customer, which is the consumer, how to create arrangements, how to design, how to make bouquets. So you're actually educating the consumer how to appreciate flowers more.
yeah,
So one question I always had for them was, are you afraid of them just learning and doing weddings? But they're not, because florists are artists. So it's kind of like I always say, the going to Home Depot and you could buy wood to build a house, but you're not going to do it. So, but you're going to appreciate what the work is and the value and the cost of the work. So
yeah,
hopefully we're seeing that the end consumer is starting to value the true work and artistry of floristry. So that's one aspect of it. Now, another interesting aspect through the journey of COVID has been that with that workshop, they're actually shipping broken down boxes. So just consumer bunches, if you want to call it,
yeah,
nothing arrangement in a box. They send it to the consumer from around the country. So they've turned into mini distributors of sorts at
yeah.
retail, but mini distributors. And then they're teaching, maybe on a Friday they do an Instagram live, and they're teaching that as well to the consumer who purchased the box.
Right.
So you could see that they're accessing flowers, and many of these florists are actually doing it direct, especially if they're in Miami. There's some farms out of Holland that will do the favor for them and ship it direct to the customer as well.
That's
So that goes to show that e-commerce is a big thing. Many of these floors pivoted towards e-commerce really fast, and for
yeah,
Mother's Day, it benefited. And not only did they pivot to e-commerce, they pivoted to going fully and using Instagram as a sales tool. And right now, Instagram is truly a sales tool of communication, of sharing education, entertainment, but as well as selling through that process,
yeah.
engaging that customer and staying engaged with that customer and selling their product. So we've seen that a lot as well. People were able to survive almost with Instagram and
Wow.
Facebook and basically survive, as the stories we've heard where they're like, thank God for Instagram, because that's exactly what we were able to do. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a master degree English teacher, and 4 months ago, she lost her job and turned into floristry, and Instagram was her channel of sales channel. No website, just sales channel. So that comes to show really the importance of Instagram, social media, digital marketing, and website design. So
Yeah,
that's where we're headed with that. And yesterday, for example, another example, I spoke to a wholesaler. I'll not name him, but they went with a website selling bouquets direct. So the models are really changing. There's different models, and people are kind of looking into other pivots and channels to start moving the product and create sales.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as a flower industry, we had quite a long chain with producers or even breeders, producers, export companies. There was a quite a long chain, and you see that it's getting smaller now quite rapidly.
Yeah. And
And
another thing what happened was, and I think you had mentioned it, was the when the wholesalers closed at the beginning of COVID, a few of the floors started going direct, started figuring out how to do this. And something that did happen was local farms. Many local farms that were actually selling to florists are actually selling to public now, or they
yeah,
opened up. I know of a peony farm in New Jersey that opened up for a tour. You pay $15 a car. You go through the peony farm, take pictures, get your Instagrammable moment, and then they would sell you peonies as well.
yeah.
So everybody's just trying to survive, and this is real. We're still in it.
Yeah, Disneyland was closed, so you couldn't go with your car and then see some peonies and buy them as well.
And so a wild safari jungle, or the one that you drive your car through, that turned
Yeah,
into Peony Safari Garden, I guess. Or
yeah, I know this, the same story in in Ukraine. You have a big field of lavendel, and people
yeah,
can go in there as well. They pay for their Instagrammable pictures and things like that. So you don't even have to sell your flowers. Just let people take pictures of it. So yeah,
make
that's also a great
money.
way to make money.
Yeah, yeah. So people are really just innovating, and weddings as well are turning into micro weddings. I know we all know that with
Yeah,
really impactful pieces. So that's what I've heard through the interviews I've done is those impactful pieces, those statement pieces is really where they're going. The crowns are a big thing again.
yeah,
So they're doing that, and they're just finding ways to generate income.
yeah. How about dried flowers? Is that something already coming up in the US or not?
Yes, so there's a mix and match of feelings of that. Again, I'm not the florist expert, but
Yeah,
talking about trends and just looking around what other wholesalers are doing or we're doing. Yeah, dried flowers are in. It's the muted colors, it's the beige colors that are really in right now. It's that natural feel. Is a big buzzword right now.
yeah,
Just organics, natural, natural, natural. Even just going into that of the health benefits of flowers, people are starting to realize how important flowers are, and we're starting to understand how to market that aspect of it as well. Speaking to Jay Schwanke the other day on the show, you might
yeah,
have seen him, and he was just saying we've been trying to push this for so many years, and thank goodness something just happened where you're highlighting that. Another aspect of it, I know we're in the flowers, but we could mesh them together, is the plant industry is up by 65%. So the house plant industry is up by 65%. And but think of it as well, succulents are a plant, so that kind of ties in. And now a new
yeah,
trend, mixing flowers, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but mixing flowers with plants, or at least your orchids, creating more of a plant terrarium on a in a pot. And that's one of the hot things right now that people are looking at are plants.
yeah.
65% up. So that's a big number.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing is that we couldn't believe it 1 year ago, but people get sick and tired of their phones and of their computers and their iPads. They want to do something besides it. So they want to do make something themselves, like you said, the boxes, so they can make bouquets themselves. Uh, they are doing more and more things themselves now to keep themselves busy. That's was something we couldn't dream of 1 year ago.
Exactly. And one thing we would always think was that the florist was very defensive of their customers, but now they're empowering their customers
Yeah,
to learn about floristry, to also appreciate floristry. So that's actually a benefit. I think we see two benefits out of this is one, the consumer is starting to be educated much
yeah,
more and have the time because they're looking for self-enrichment. And then the benefits of the health benefits. One of the first things we did in our household was buy flowers. And
yeah.
that's no joke. We bought a hydrangea plant and we kept it for 2 months inside of the house. And it just allows you to feel a little bit more connected to the outside world.
Yeah,
So,
and the
those are
really
two things.
nice, yeah, the nice thing about it that you were sitting at home and you would see the plant or the bouquet develop.
Yeah.
And as a joke, I told yesterday to somebody, I said, that, yeah, we were all like elderly people. We had a bouquet on the table, and every morning when we woke up, we said, "Oh, look, there's a new flower opening up, or this is happening, this is happening." Well, normally maybe we bought a bouquet, but we were too busy to notice what was going on with the bouquet,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now we were just working with
I
it.
spoke to them. I even said good morning to my plant once in a while. So
Yeah. That was already after 2 months of lockdown, probably.
yeah. Now, what are we doing with our plants? But
Yeah. Now it's really great to see that yeah, the florists are helping out their consumers or helping out consumers to make the bouquets themselves as well. I think it will be beneficial for the whole industry because people will understand flowers more, so they know how to treat them well, so to keep them longer in the vase. That was something they didn't know at the moment, and I never understood really why we were afraid of teaching the consumers how to make arrangements. I mean, people cook themselves as well, or they make their own dinner, but they still go to a restaurant if they really want something special. So,
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And they go to a restaurant and pay so much because they know how difficult it is to cook. And
yeah,
some of them, and some of them don't like to cook, so they'll pay top dollar for it. So yeah, it's only a return for us. I think it's only a benefit. They say that supermarket sales were up as well and stayed consistent. You could correct me on that number as well, but that they stayed very consistent, and
yeah,
I feel that it's just again a benefit. They see it. They were buying it along with their milk. One thing I was joking the other day, we should all make a campaign, got flowers, not got milk. I don't know if you ever saw that, but
yeah,
got
yeah.
flowers, because it's truly a benefit, to have flowers in your home, and to be connected to nature.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many studies which we didn't do anything with it actually as a floral or a plant industry. That it was beneficial for your health. If you give a bouquet of flowers to a woman, it's proven that she stays more happy for 3 days. For 3 days. I
Great.
mean,
Okay.
there's not a man who can achieve that, but just a bunch of flowers can achieve it.
That's,
So,
that's great. And
yeah,
even
but
green, the one thing that I do a lot is when I create content, you also want to educate when you're doing your content. It's not just talking about you. It's also how to give value up front. So one thing I do is if I'm putting a yellow flower, a yellow rose, for example, I also talk about what yellow does, because not only do
yeah,
flowers have a benefit, colors actually have a health benefit as well. So yellow makes you feel good. If you go into a kid's hospital, you'll see yellow everywhere, or green, and every color has a tone. And they even say
yeah,
greenery, plant greenery, create helps with creativity, for example. So there's so many benefits, different angles of benefits when it comes to flowers.
yeah.
Creativity, color, health benefits of having something live, on and on, taking care of something. So many things there.
Yeah, Johan Heemskerk is saying, I think if anything good comes out of this, I think a new generation of gardeners and flower lovers have been created.
Yep, that is for sure.
Yeah,
That is for sure. And they say that gardening's up exponentially as well. So I think we're all learning to appreciate nature.
yeah, we finally get rid of all the concrete gardens, which you see almost everywhere now because it was easy to have concrete in your backyard.
Yeah, yes, and you didn't have to worry about cutting the grass. And now they're like,
Yeah,
God, that's some grass.
yeah,
I guess.
and I think once the garden is really nice and people spend money on it, next year they want to achieve the same or like human beings are, they want to have it better even. So yeah, I think there's a big chance for us to, as a whole industry, we need to keep that yeah going. I mean, this
Yeah.
what we got from COVID-19. We just have to embrace it and tell the people, okay, we have to teach them, of course. So if you want to have a nice garden, you need to plant your bulbs right now, so you will have flowers then. And I think we,
And we have the tools to do that, through digital marketing, through things like this, through live interviews. We have the tools to bring education and information to our customers and to our
yeah,
consumers. There's a theory. It's basically, when it comes to, it's 80/30 when it comes to digital marketing. 80% of it is what's in it for them. So education, entertainment, information, resources. And then the other 20% is talking about yourself,
yeah,
how great you are, what you do, or your backstory. At least have a good voice and tone. But that other 80% is the one that, as an industry, we could do, which is educating about flowers, talking about flowers, the process. How much is, generating one rose variety really cost, and what's the process of doing that, and how long does it
yeah,
take, and what are the difficulties we go through, and what do distributors go through. I co-edited an article I put on LinkedIn, and it's just basically giving the five most popular reasons why we run into difficulties. And the purpose of that is to educate the consumer, educate the florist, letting them know really what we go through and why we go through that, and why, there was an article by Yahoo, I think, why roses cost what they do. and that's just a great way to allow the consumer to appreciate the process of a flower, the
Yeah,
process, the logistics. As you said earlier, there's so many chains connected that if something happens in one of those chains, it's a ripple effect. So
yeah.
it's educate your consumer by giving them education, giving them workshops, teaching them, and speaking to them in an educational tone as often as you can.
Yeah, and also in a way they understand. Like I said,
Yeah.
all the flowers have Latin names, but just tell the people how it's called. Don't describe it as you're like a doctor. They will never understand. And also
Exactly.
tell about the benefits. Like this plant attracts butterflies. This plant they have a really nice scent. Things like that. I think then you can really reach out to the consumers because that's something they really want to hear.
And stories also sell. So
Yeah,
it's always good to put a story behind it. What's the history of a peony? Most flowers were actually Latin names. So why was it a Latin name? Or what's a story in a history book about it? So always put a story to something, which is not just your story, but
yeah.
give that your product or your farm, or just add a story to that, and educate them through those stories.
Yeah, we had an interview actually. I think it's almost 2 months ago with a breeder and of peonies, and he had a great story. He was telling he could tell for hours or maybe even days about the peonies, but the story behind it and why the first varieties had French names and then it became English names. He said, yeah, until the 1910 the French people were doing the breeding, and after that, the Americans took over the breeding and the English. That's why there's a difference in the names.
Yeah,
So
and all those stories connect the person and the viewer and the consumer to that product.
yeah,
So this is a good story because then they understand it. They understand the value. They understand there's a backstory. It's really engaging, and that's all that it's about. I know you just told me a quick story of a farm that stopped engaging with their customer base, and honestly, it just stay as engaged as possible and
yeah,
don't feel perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. Consumer likes authenticity. Authenticity. You see, that's
yeah,
authentic. Like authenticity and just being yourselves and being your own brand, showing your team, and
yeah,
allowing them to connect, but staying engaged. And you could even do that through sharing curated pictures or content. It doesn't have to be your own content either.
yeah. It's just about being there online. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, staying as engaged as possible and always having a conversation with your people.
Yeah,
Give them information, education, and entertainment.
yeah. So yeah, you're the specialist about the online. Everything that's online in the floral business as well. We already talked about, or we spoke about Instagram, Facebook. What about YouTube and a website? I hear some people say, yeah, website, nobody looks at my website anymore. Uh, what do you think
So
about that?
websites are where it all starts in reality. Everything else leads the people there. Your website, if it's not working, it's because you might not have it set up for e-commerce, which is okay, or you might not have it set up for conversion, which means if you have a customer coming on, and if I'm speaking to distributors, you have a customer, you go to a show when they existed, and they go to your website to look at just your website and find more information. There's no real process to get them from a viewer and just a browser into a customer. Nowadays, with updated websites, there's more of an easier flow to get them into a customer, into filling out an application, or even engaging with them on your website. So to have a conversation and ask them, pop up, hi, how are you doing? Is there anything you're looking for? I remember you from the show, and then starting to have a conversation. So it
Yeah,
depends on what you're using your website for. Your website could be a source of information, resources and tools for your customer as well, as long as you set it up that way. And then also use your blog for that as well. So every 2 weeks or once a month, you write a great blog article. For example, Real Roses does a Real Live magazine, and that's just a
mm,
great resource for their customers as well. And they do many creative things with that. So their website is effective because it has a tool and has the resources that the florist or the wholesaler mostly is going to go to. So there is, you might have a 3-year-old website, might be a little outdated because technology changes and moves fast.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons it might not be the best thing for you. And if it's for e-commerce, there's a lot of possibilities. I've heard of so many customers now, from wholesalers to retailers, starting their business on e-commerce and it taking off. But you have to make sure that your SEO is good or that you have a strong Instagram base so you could lead people there and start creating a community around your brand. And then you asked one other thing. I'm sorry, I got so into the websites, but
Yeah,
you have
the
YouTube.
website and YouTube as well.
So YouTube's great. YouTube, instructional, education, tours, pictures, interviews, for example. So YouTube is important as well because YouTube is your second most popular search engine. It's owned by Google. So other than going to Google and doing a search engine for something that you want to learn, people go to YouTube. So you can imagine how many florists are using YouTube now as well. And
Yeah.
it's a great way to create content and SEO because Google's also searching if you have content, relevant content on YouTube.
Yeah. Actually, Joe Hammond is saying hello from Oadby Town Center. Joe, thank you for joining. Hope everything's well with you and that your shop is still open. Willie is saying there's now a difference between websites and social media. The website is just a home base. It depends a little bit if you can connect it with e-commerce, of course, and can,
So yeah.
yeah,
And he uses that if it's Willie Armelini, he uses that as a blog. So
yeah,
that is his home base. So it just really depends on what, as I said, what you're using it for. So Willie does a great job at the blog aspect
yeah.
of it. And that's what he uses it for. And it's worked for him, man.
Yeah, and that's what I see with a lot of growers as well. I tell them as well, how many customers do you get to visit that visit your nursery? Yeah, it's maybe one, two, or up to 20 a week. I said, but how many people can you reach via your website? Give them a tour on your website, show them what you're doing. I mean, now that people are interested more in flowers and plants, we should give them the information as well. Otherwise, if they can't find it, they will get bored and they will find another hobby. I mean,
So websites were really used, and I'm sorry, I can't see your face, so I'm not sure if you're still talking or not. So I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. But websites were used primarily 10 years ago as a business card.
yeah,
Now they're used as service, as e-commerce, as resources, as education. It's evolving. So if you just have a website that has your phone number and your information and maybe just email us, it's up to the customer to make that transaction. It's up to the customer to convert. But if you have it set up in a way that it's a UX experience and allows the customer to easily access your information, access information that they can't find anywhere else, then it becomes a tool and an asset and a resource to your customer. And then you become a tool and an asset and a resource to your customer as well, and your brand does. So just keep that in mind when you're developing your website is what am I offering other than just talking about my brand?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's really
what
good.
help am I giving?
Johan Heemskerk is saying, I think social media is first step to visiting your website. Depends a
Yes.
little bit, but
Yeah, but you need, like Willie said, you need a base.
yeah,
So that's really the end base. So you start from the bones of your website and then you have social media. But again, this might change a year from now where everybody's saying just go on social media because it's the new website. These
yeah,
technologies and platforms, Facebook, they're doing so many things that I wouldn't be surprised that Facebook, I believe, just launched email marketing through Facebook now. So you could imagine, and that's like taking over MailChimp. So
yeah,
you could imagine what Instagram is going to be in the next year. That it could be, it could be a website,
yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
probably
you can do the sales and the shopping you can do already via Instagram and Facebook. So that
yeah,
takes over a part of the role of the website or the web shops as well already.
yeah,
So
exactly. And there's some companies that don't even have websites. Another older model, it was just having your Facebook Marketplace and having Facebook as a way to send business to you and through a phone call. But again, you're leaving it in the customer's hands to call you. But it also works for them.
yeah. Willie Armelini is also saying, when I go to a website and see that the last update was 2 years ago, I'm gone. Yeah, it's the same for me, Willie. I mean, it's not done anymore. I mean, then it's better almost to close down your website, I think.
Yeah,
Or
and that goes again. Someone that's doing that and saying my website's not working, what's happening is that they're not creating SEO or content for that website so that Google search engine could see it as a relevant website. So that's what's happening with someone like that's having that situation or not changing or updating anything with so many years. But then the other goes for Instagram and social media, for example. If you see a post that was done for Easter and nothing's changed, you're not going to continue to visit the person. You might actually just unfollow because it's not going to be current information. So it is a good idea to constantly create content. And that's the buzzword now is content, content, content. Is continue to give your website content, your Instagram content, but especially your website and YouTube, because it just creates a better SEO and search engine optimization with Google searching for you
yeah,
or that name.
I mean, if you just walk in a town and you see a shop that's closed today, you think, oh, maybe they're on holiday, but next week they're still closed, and then you think, okay, they're bankrupt. I don't bother going there anymore. But it's almost the same on a website or on social media when you see, okay, last update is a year ago. Do they still exist? What's happening over there? I mean, especially in these times when a lot of people and companies they go bankrupt, you don't know if they exist anymore if there are no updates.
Yeah, and you have to stay relevant. You have to stay relevant, right? You
Yeah,
have to stay as relevant as possible, and that is, I post for some of my clients 3 times a day, and do stories along because the consumption of content is enormous. They
yeah,
say that back in the day, the rule of thumb was that a consumer had to run into your brand 6 to 8 times to remember it or take ownership of it. Now they say it's 68 times, because you turn on your phone, you drive anywhere you look in the sky almost. There's information and branding, so they're hitting you with the information. So everybody's expecting. Willie's expecting that there's more information that's current and relevant when he goes to a site. Why? Because that's the norm. That's just the expectations that we have as a society now.
yeah, it is. And I mean, even the big brands that we all know, they are still advertising. And they don't just think we put just one advertisement outside of the airport because everybody flies one time a year. So they will see us and that's it. They keep on advertising as well. So, and 68 times, that's a lot. But we get a lot of information in as well every day. I mean, if you see a lot of people, they're watching television and on the meanwhile, they're sitting on their iPad or even on their phone. And luckily, we only have two hands.
Yeah, yeah. Or on your laptop, on your phone, watching TV. Done that.
Yeah,
So you imagine all the information that you're getting from left and right. So you really have to add value to that information so that
yeah,
it means something and there's a return on investment for the customer to connect with you.
yeah,
Is learning something. And right now it's really big of, self-education and education and learning new hobbies. So right now is a great time for our industry because one thing, we don't have to worry about great pictures. We really don't because our product speaks for itself. Our flowers speak for itself. So we've already passed that part where other people are really struggling hard to represent a bottle of Clorox, for example. We could just take a picture of a beautiful rose close up or at an angle or seeing a little bit of the sky. There's so many different ways that you could play with the beauty of what we work with.
yeah. I think content for our business is not the problem. I mean, you just can go into any cooler, make some pictures, and it's always good. People always react good on flowers. I mean,
Very well.
yeah, it's just to keep it relevant. Willie Armelini is also saying, when does too much information become too much? I think it's if you're not relevant to your followers, to your customers, that's when you start to lose them.
And it's a real nice balance too. It's a balance. It's a lot about A/B testing. You test one flow, then you test another flow and see what really sticks or how many times a week. And you could try it for 2 months and then move on. So
Yeah,
it's really what your customer base is craving, even or wanting, and they'll tell you. Basically, they
yeah,
will tell you. There are theories that if you're under, let's say Instagram, if you're under 5,000 viewers, and if you post more than, I think, like 5 times or 6 times a day, you actually lose your engagement by 50%.
wow,
So yes, because you become overloading. But as you said, if that information is relevant to your customer, and you could learn that through insights and even through your targeting, ad targetings, you could learn that as well. You could create content based on that as well. So
yeah.
things that are relevant to your customer base.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just A/B testing. There's no right or wrong. Uh, don't write a plan for half a year, because after half a year, everything can be changed already. I mean, what we see with our advertising as well is that I see the girls every time when I come into the office and I see them already stressed out. I already know that something changed on Instagram, something changed on Facebook. They all have to redo all the things. So, and that happens almost every other week.
And just imagine the exponential changes that we've had in 4 months.
Yeah,
you know so who is to say that this can't happen again? Or so just like technology, just like on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just Gmail, everything is continually changing, and they change with events that happen. Look at the use of Zoom, for example. Look at this that you and I are using. Zoom, again, is a great way to connect with your customers, and it's a great tool, and the exponential growth of Zoom was at a norm,
yeah,
because it's our new social life.
yeah,
Uh, I was happy to talk to you because I'm talking to somebody else today.
yeah. But it's Zoom is good, and it will not replace everything, but it will. I think it will even help us connect better with customers.
Yes, yeah, and it's instant gratification almost, because you don't have to drive or make an appointment. You could say, let's jump on a Zoom real quick, and you put a face. That old saying, put a voice with a face or a face with a voice. We're
Yeah,
accomplishing that, sitting in our living room. So we're accomplishing that, and then also being able to do presentations and showing stuff, and maybe even tours of your location as well. So you could do many different things as long as you just stay creative and don't fear perfection. Try it. If it works, golden goose. But if it didn't work, then you move on.
yeah. That's for sure. I mean, it's so quickly changing. I mean, and it's a real job. It's not just marketing. Online marketing is something really different. I mean, that's a whole other industry, and a lot of other things are happening. So you can't just say I'm doing marketing, I'm making a brochure, but I'm also doing this and I'm also doing that, because
The- the-
it's
Go
getting
ahead.
too important as well.
It's getting what?
It's getting too important to just do it after work time on the sofa and just for 5 minutes just post something.
Eh, as I said earlier, Instagram. I have a customer that I helped through the whole COVID situation. I saw the effect how Instagram and staying connected had for Mother's Day. They had one of their busiest, or the busiest, Friday and Saturday prior to a Mother's Day that they ever had, because it was just constantly hitting up customers and retargeting the customer because we had disconnected, and throwing offers and deals. And I was staying up throughout not the night, but going to bed around 10, 11, still taking DM, Instagram messages of, I want to get 2 bunches of that or reserve this. But as long as you use it as a tool, there's a lot of benefit from it, and
Yeah,
looking at it as a sales tool. And as well, I also encourage my clients that I work with and consult with to empower their sales staff. There's a thing of silos, which is sales and then marketing. That really needs to kind of come together a little bit, because your salesperson really knows the customer very well, and knows how to target those customers. But to engage and empower them, there's a company that does this great, is Jet Fresh.
yeah,
Jimmy the Tulip will actually repost everything and talk and go on
Yeah,
Instagram and talk himself. And so it's really empowering your sales reps, empowering your sales team, and educating your sales team. That's something we do as little crash course workshops where it's just giving them the tools and allowing them to understand how they could use this as a marketing tool and as a prospecting tool as well.
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Jetfresh. Yeah, they do it in their special way. They've got, like I'm sitting here in my hi hat. They've got also their special way of doing it, and it makes them stand out as well. And maybe some
Yeah,
people will not like it, but the others who like it, they just,
of course.
some of them just go there because of this.
Yes, and the thing about them is that they were one of the first that had a voice, a tone. They had a voice and a tone, and they had a culture, and it was great, crazy Mike, and so it was it's a very entertaining for many people. And every time I sit down with and consult the customer, they're always asking about JetFresh. So I really look up to them because they were a pioneer in the marketing of wholesale wise. Mayish is also a great customer, but then you can see the differences between them. There's Mayish, and then there's JetFresh, and they do it all very well, but they do it very different.
Yeah, they all have their own signature.
Yes, exactly. It's having your own voice, your own tone, and your own company DNA. People really worry, when they speak to me is, oh, say, but I don't want to be the same. It's really up to you. It's really up to your DNA, what you're going back to that, what your story is. So, and how you want to tell your story. So, Jeff Fresh does a great job in being creative and outspoken and just, being funny. That's what they're great at. And then Mayish is very professional. We're not saying that Jeff Fresh is not, but that
Yeah.
they have they're both different tone and voices, and they do it really, really, really well.
They both translated their DNA of their company, the offline DNA, into online in the DNA, and that's it's difficult. But if you achieve it, you see that yeah, we're not even now talking about them as an example. So they do really well.
Yes, yeah, and that's funny. Yeah, if people are talking about you, it's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
If
Is
it
there any,
without you asking them to, it's even better.
yeah, is there anything you want to tell the people or give the people that okay, we're in the floral industry, it's difficult, but we'll get better out of it, or what do you want? What message do you want to give to the people that are watching at the moment?
Stay engaged, stay engaged, think a little differently. This too will pass, obviously, and we're going to go on roller coasters up and down, but it's keep moving forward. I read a while ago is the people that really go in on this and continue to create content and continue to speak to the customer and continue to move forward will be the ones to succeed. So just put your heads down, and I'll be a little corny and keep on blooming.
Yeah,
But put your heads down and keep on moving forward. And again, don't disconnect from your customers. Now is the time to reconnect. If you're a wholesaler, stay connected with those customers because some of them are looking for places to shop now and they will gradually start opening. So if
yeah,
you're just present and sending an email to say hello, stay there. So stay engaged and keep your head down
yeah.
and keep on moving forward.
And it doesn't always have to be good news and that it's all perfect. We're all human, so we know it's all sometimes difficult. So also mention that, okay, we closed down earlier because of this or things like that. I mean, the
And you're
perfect,
so right, man. It's really in the beginning I said the word and everybody it was a big buzzword, so I've kind of stopped saying it, but authentic is
yeah,
stay as authentic as possible, stay real. And one little quote that I was saying can make sense and it doesn't is don't fear perfection. Don't fear that it's not perfect, so we can't do it. Just move forward. The audience will tell you if it's perfect for them or not, and that's really who matters.
yeah, yeah. That's for sure. Okay, I will not hold you up any longer because I know yeah you really want to go to the beach.
Appreciate you. Gonna do a little fishing here in Naples, but again, thank you for having me. My hat goes off to you. This is not easy for us to do, to
Yeah.
constantly do. So I'm here to support you, man, and thank you again. And you're doing a great job.
Yeah, and thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day at the beach. And everybody, thank you for watching. Next week,
Likewise.
we have a special episode. We have the fourth online flower show already. This time, we
Nice.
will have Tineke Heerlings, wedding arrangements. So I think it's going to be great. Or I know it's going to be great. She already showed me some things. So yeah, stay tuned next week, same time again. So hope to see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Take care. Thank you.